Well, I thought that Anthony Albanese was quite clever at one stage where Peter Dutton was getting quite a good run out of halving of the petrol excise tax. He then flipped it into a negative.
Mr Dutton's plan to stop working from home was that if you put all those on the one hand, they're saying, yeah, we'll give you some cheaper petrol, but on the other hand, they were saying that people would have to drive more.
Peter Dutton managed to recover some of the lost momentum that he had, and he's demonstrated that he can be competitive, particularly on a head-to-head basis. So the rest of the campaign is going to be important, and I think this debate, this first debate between Anthony Albanese and Peter Dutton, has set the tone for the rest of the campaign. I think there was a moment when Peter Dutton said to Anthony Albanese, "Isn't it a fact that your government is the biggest spending government since the Whitlam government?" Now, this has been something that Peter Dutton has hammered Labor with. It is something they try to avoid. The Prime Minister said, no, that's not true, challenged it and said, we've done much better on the economy and the budget than you did. But Peter Dutton came back and said, that's just not factually right. Once again, Dutton was raising the credibility of the Prime Minister and the strength of his word.
Are you the biggest spending government since Whitlam? So 40 years. In 40 years, there has not been a higher spending government than your government. Is that correct?
Well, that's not true, except for the one that you were a part of.
Just not true.
Well, I thought that Anthony Albanese was quite clever at one stage where Peter Dutton was getting quite a good run out of halving of the petrol excise tax. It was clear since the budget that the petrol excise proposal from the coalition is more popular than the long-term $5 a week tax cut in the second half of 2026. Peter Dutton was making the point, this is immediate. The audience was making the point that this is immediate. And what Anthony Albanese did, he flipped it. He then flipped it into a negative of the coalition's backflip on working from home and made the perfectly reasonable point, okay, all of these people out here in Western Sydney that you're saying you're giving a petrol excise cut to, but now you're trying to force them back onto the road and to drive more. It was a good point and it changed the conversation on petrol excise. I think that Peter Dutton, and I feel that the format, the two people standing there with no rostums in front of them, actually probably helps. It's a problem that John Howard had. As a shorter person against a taller person, it tends to allow them to assert themselves more. Peter Dutton appeared more polished. He appeared to be more in control of his material, and he was much more prepared to assert himself, to ask Anthony Albanese questions and to challenge what Anthony Albanese was saying. So I think that as far as the presentation went, Peter Dutton was more natural and Anthony Albanese was a bit too scripted. Oh, well, this is the great thing about these town hall meetings and suburban meetings, whatever you want to call them, is it's not so much what the leaders say in response, it's what the questions are. And the questions were clearly about cost of living. That was the priority. There were other issues asked, certainly, but cost of living permeated most of the questions in one way or another, whether it was the question about President Trump's tariffs or education costs, university, immigration. It was all came back to cost of living. And I think that is actually also works in Peter Dutton's advantage, because what he wants to talk about is cost of living and economic management. Neither leader made a mistake, and certainly Peter Dutton couldn't afford to make a mistake at this stage. So I think just on a presentation, a bit more personality and a bit more confidence gave Peter Dutton the edge over the Prime Minister, but I think he actually needed to do that because he would have lost momentum. So I think what we've seen, this debate will set the tone for the next few weeks of the campaign. There's still a long way to go, and the coalition is still at least competitive.